The relatively new Webb telescope is making tremendous strides in furthering the study and exploration of our solar system. Recent images of Neptune show some incredible new things, such as the rings and moons of Neptune. Curious as to what these images reveal about Neptune? Let's dive right into the video. Okay, so what is the Webb telescope? For those unaware, the Webb telescope is a space-based telescope that was launched in 2021. After that, it was named after James E. Webb, who in 1958 helped start the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA. Ultimately, this incredibly powerful telescope is designed to observe extremely distant objects from Earth. In fact, it's designed to study the very first stars and galaxies that formed after the Big Bang. What this means is that it's capable of seeing the most distant objects in the universe. However, it's also pretty good at picking things up closer to home. Recent images have revealed some pretty interesting things about Neptune, such as 7 moons and a set of rings. It's a fascinating time for the universe, as we've never before been able to look at images this clear of distant planets. No longer are we limited to grainy images of the solar system, but rather, we have extremely clear views of what these planets look like in fine detail. What is Neptune, and why is it special? Neptune is the most distant planet from the Sun in our solar system. In fact, it's the farthest anything is from the Sun, as once you get to Neptune, there is only a bunch of dust and ice that make up the Kuiper Belt, unless, of course, you count Pluto. As far as planets go, it's pretty interesting, because it was the first planet to be discovered via a mathematical computation. In other words, Neptune was discovered before anyone actually saw it. To find a new planet, one needs to first use the law of gravitation, which was derived by Sir Isaac Newton, to calculate where it's located based on its effect on other planets in the solar system. However, this method can only predict where the planet is up to a certain margin of error. In this case, Neptune was originally predicted to be located at a certain point in the sky, but it was actually slightly further away than that. Ultimately, this makes it a very special planet, and the Webb telescope had no trouble revealing just what makes this planet so special. So, what pictures did the Webb telescope take, and what came of it? As I mentioned earlier, the Webb telescope's images of Neptune are the most detailed ever taken. In fact, they can provide a clearer view than even our own Voyager 2 spacecraft ever gave us. We got to see not only Neptune's thin rings, but also some faint dust bands that have never been seen before. The pictures, which were taken in July, are a fascinating look at the planet. They provide a clear view of not only Neptune's rings, but also some of its known moons. In order to take this picture, the Webb telescope had to detect near-infrared light. This is the first time that we've ever gotten to see Neptune in this way. The pictures are just absolutely fascinating, and it's incredible to think about what we can learn from them. For example, these pictures make it very easy to measure the reflectivity of Neptune's rings. What does this mean? Well, astronauts will be able to use this data to measure the size and composition of the rings, which is extremely important information when it comes to exploring the solar system. We also got a very good look at Neptune's largest moon, Triton. This moon is fascinating because it's actually covered in a very thin layer of nitrogen that reflects light incredibly well. In a zoomed out picture, you can see an object that would appear to be a bright star next to Neptune. In reality, this object is actually Triton, and it's incredibly bright because of the way it reflects light. Finally, there's also a very thin, bright line that circles around Neptune's equator. This line is actually the result of Neptune's atmosphere circulating, which in turn powers the planet's winds and storms. This is a very exciting discovery, as it helps us to further understand how Neptune works, and how its atmosphere functions. In the end, these pictures are just a tiny fraction of all that we can learn from the Webb telescope. As we continue to get more images from it, we'll no doubt learn even more about the universe that we live in. What else is the Webb telescope studying? Interestingly enough, it doesn't seem like the Webb telescope is primarily focused on studying our own solar system. In fact, according to recent reports, the telescope is mainly focused on studying other galaxies. In particular, it's designed to take a closer look at some of the earliest stars and galaxies that formed after the Big Bang. This means that it will be capable of seeing incredibly distant objects from Earth that have never been seen before. Ultimately, there's no telling what we might learn from this new information, and I can't wait to find out. So far, it seems as if the telescope has discovered some pretty interesting things about our own solar system, from new planets with the potential to hold life to incredibly detailed pictures of Neptune. There's no telling what this telescope might show us next. Why doesn't Neptune look blue any longer? This was one of the many fascinating discoveries made by the Webb telescope. In previous images of Neptune taken by the Hubble telescope, it was very clearly blue in color. However, it seems as if this is no longer the case. The reason for this change in appearance is that methane in Neptune's atmosphere absorbs infrared light. This causes the areas of Neptune that are not covered by bright, high-altitude clouds to appear dark to the Webb telescope. This change in appearance is actually quite fascinating and provides us with a whole new way of looking at Neptune. However, it's important to note that this doesn't necessarily mean that Neptune is no longer blue. It simply means that we're seeing it in a different way. The clouds on Neptune are still very much blue, and I'm sure that they'll continue to be one of the most fascinating things about this planet. The methane ice clouds appear in Webb's images as bright streaks and spots since they reflect sunlight. These clouds can last for days in Neptune's atmosphere, but it's unclear what exactly they are. Regardless, they're still incredibly fascinating to look at. What's next for the Webb telescope? The Webb telescope will continue to provide us with incredibly detailed images of the universe. In particular, it will be taking a closer look at some of the most distant objects in the universe. This is something that will, without question, reveal much about both the known and unknown universes, as well as our place in them. Ultimately, there's no telling what we might learn from the Webb telescope. All we can do is sit back and enjoy the ride. Still, it's worth noting that there have been several particularly fascinating cases of new images released by the scientists studying through the Webb telescope that weren't expected to be found. What are some of the recent discoveries? Recently, the Webb telescope discovered some of the earliest stars ever seen in a new galaxy that's been dubbed the Sparkler. These stars are part of a dense group known as globular clusters. They are estimated to have formed around 800 million years after the Big Bang. Globular clusters often host some of the oldest stars in contemporary galaxies such as our own, but it can be difficult to determine their exact age. However, the new discovery could help researchers pinpoint when such clusters begin to form. Compared to a galaxy, these globular clusters are tiny, which makes them hard to see from across the universe. But this time, a gargantuan natural lens in space helped. The Sparkler is one of the thousands of galaxies that lie far behind a massive, much closer galaxy cluster called SMACS 0723. The cluster distorts space-time such that the light from the more distant galaxies behind it is magnified. By taking advantage of this cosmic magnification, the JWST was able to capture some of the most distant and oldest stars ever seen. Pretty cool, right? Essentially, the Webb telescope is capable of seeing back in time and revealing a lot about the Big Bang and the earliest stars. Additionally, a recent report report revealed that the Webb telescope has discovered several new galaxies and continues to do so every day. How will studying globular clusters help? Studying more globular clusters around ancient galaxies could help determine if such galaxies were common or rare early on in the universe's history. They could also help unravel galaxies' formation histories. The team studying these clusters has proposed observations to be made in JWST's first year, which could do just that. Ultimately, it's amazing what we're learning from the Webb telescope. It seems as if every day there are new discoveries, but that's going to do it for this video. Go ahead and drop a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Let us know which pictures are your favorites, and we'll see you in the next video. Here's to space, discovering our universe and the incredible Webb telescope.